Rival House Network. What's up, everybody? Week number 2 in a row of Cinema Enema. Just to kind of recap, Zach thought it was a great idea. Zach's here, of course, me, Aaron. He thought it was a good idea to double up on Cinema Enema just because we didn't have one last month, and we just all out anally assaulted all you guys with Patreon select commentaries for a month or 2 months. So here we are again with Cinema Enema to sort of even the balance of the world. Zach, what's up, dude?
Fucking nothing's up, baby. I went to a cookout today, hung out with my niece and nephew and a bunch of other people. Very, very low T, very low T. I hate people. I hate meeting with people. I hate gatherings. I'm a big fucking just prude, baby.
How do you get together with your fellow juggalos if you hate gatherings?
Fucking,
that doesn't work out so well.
I do, though, baby. I put it all behind me, and I bring it together for the Juggalo family. Swing with the hatchet when the time comes.
All right. Yeah, so as of this recording, it is Memorial Day weekend. That's what Zach's referring to. It is Saturday. I just went out and ran some errands. I didn't really do anything special. I'm probably actually going to work on Memorial Day. So
did you run out and run some jewels? You run the jewels?
It's so funny, though. I was listening to Run the Jewels while I was running errands. So that's interesting.
Chad.
Anyway, so if you guys aren't familiar with this particular show, if you guys are new to the channel, this is more of our more streamlined type of podcast. We pick a topic. In this case, we're going to break down Clive Barker's Nightbreed. We're going to kind of go into the theatrical versus the director's cut. But usually beforehand, we kind of talk about what we've been watching and news. I don't really know how much of that we're going to have going on this episode just because we did it last week too, but we're going to do our best. And also, if you guys are new to the channel, please take a second, like the video if you dig what you're hearing, help us out in the algorithms, subscribe if you feel so obliged to do so, and also follow us on free feeds where you listen to podcasts. But other than that, Zach, I guess you were right. I'm not a Chad because I didn't save any ammunition from last week's episode on what I've watched. So
see, that's what I said. I said before we started recording that I'm a well-hung Chad, and I left some of the stuff out purposefully because I knew we were going to do 2. And then I said, I bet Aaron isn't a well-hung Chad, and like, wah, 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 as we all know, he's not. Very low T, very beta cuck. But I watched Mank, the new fucking, what's his name? The guy who did Fight Club, fucking Fincher.
Oh, Fincher, yeah.
Fucking, I liked it. Fucking, it's a good companion piece to the original fucking Citizen Kane. Have you ever seen Citizen Kane?
I've seen like the last third of it. We watched it in school and shit. But
you only watched the last third of it in school?
No, I think I came late or something to school.
I always come late. Fucking,
yeah.
I always come right after the chick comes.
I get you. Well, basically, I've seen the end a lot. Same thing with The Elephant Man. I've seen that, but just like the end portion. But continue.
Very big, so I can't talk about it. Like, we'd have to fucking, you'd have to see them both. Fucking, yeah, I enjoyed it. Fucking, I want to watch it again, baby. Because, like, just, like, I remember when I watched it, I had to break it up into, like, 3 different nights. Because, like, I just started it before I was, like, going to sleep. And I just had to, I hate doing that, too, whenever you, like, got to break movies up. Because, like, a lot of times you'll be watching a movie and you'll be like, man, I'm feeling this movie. This is, like, a 6 at least. And then you'll wake up the next day and you'll start watching it. And it's like, everything I watched today was, like, a 3. And it's like, what, is it just, like, because I had to break it up and I ruined the momentum? Or was it just, like, I stopped at the perfect spot where the movie turns to shit? Who knows? You'll never know unless you watch it again.
Gotcha. Well, how much ammunition do you have, by the way, of stuff how much did you save? Because I do have a couple of things I could say.
I've been watching Joe Bob Briggs. He did Class of 1984, great film. Watched that. He did House by the Cemetery, the Fulci movie. Joe Bob kills it, baby. He recently last night he did Train to Busan or whatever it's called, and
Busan.
That's one that's been on my list to watch. I'm glad I kept putting it off because now I get to watch it with our boy
That
for the first time.
That's good to know. So that what is the new Joe Bob flick? So Train to Busan, I've been pushing that off as well. The lady loves it, and she's tried to make me watch it a million times. And there's a new one called Peninsula out, the sequel. So I felt it was time to finally watch it. And if Joe Bob's doing it, maybe she'll sit down and watch Joe Bob with me.
Train to Wu-Tang, our boy Plimke says. Fucking return to the 36th chamber. Very Chad.
Yeah. What else is Joe Bob doing? What's new?
He also
for him?
did Spookies last night.
Oh, cool.
Fucking Very Chad. That's a weird ass movie. Fucking like 3 movies in one. Fucking 3 different guys making a movie. They put them all together because they didn't know how else to sell it, and the result is just like a fucking crazy fever dream of a film. Fucking I'm liking it though. He did a weekend where he did the first 2 what's it called, Maniac Cop, which I've never been a huge fan of the Maniac Cop series, but fucking Joe Bob, he's gonna kill it. He's gonna make me come while I'm watching Maniac Cop.
So I actually like being way behind. I know like Josh James and all these people that we hang out with and talk with in the Discord, everybody's on top of Joe Bob as he's putting them out. I'm always way behind, but I don't mind it because when I do get in the mood, I've got a whole fuck ton to choose from, and I can just sort of cherry pick, in the order and stuff I want to watch in.
And then you got to worry about which ones are already fucking gone because they lost the rights to them already. Very low TA, Ron.
Well, what's off there so far? What's been taken down?
Nothing yet.
Okay, so I'll stop sleeping on it. But no, I'm gonna watch some tonight. I've been feeling it, and now that Train to Busan is on there, I think that's as good a thing as any. So, what else you got for us?
I watched The Pianist for the first time.
The Pianist with Adrian Brody and the child molester, the Chimo directed it.
Yeah, our boy Rivers Chimo. However, not really. Rivers Chimo is our boy, the Riverman, but fucking he wouldn't appreciate me calling him that, but it's too funny. But like, yeah. Fucking what's his name?
Roman Polanski.
See,
Adrian Brody starred, yeah.
That was the movie he won for when like he fucking he went up and like accepted the award, and people they keep posting this picture of like this is what Hollywood thinks of pedophilia, and they're clapping, and it's like they're probably fucking clapping for The Pianist because it was like a big movie. It was based on a guy who literally died like 2 years before, and like fucking he survived the Holocaust. It's like fucking hanging out in plain sight, like right next to.
I would love to see it. It's been on my list for a long time. Is it streaming somewhere? Sorry, I'm really distracted. Plemke put this really hilarious GIF in the Patreon chat of this furry shoving a big furry cock through a glory hole of sorts. Look at that.
I'm coming perpetually.
All right. Anyway, where is it streaming?
It was on Netflix.
Okay, maybe I should finally make time to watch it.
Hell yeah.
Adrian Brody, he's one of those guys that he was a flash in the pan. He won the Oscar for The Pianist, and he was the it guy for a year, and just, dude, the Oscar curse. Like I said, after that, he started taking work like the Nimrod Hotel Predators, which, like I said, is a big franchise.
How are you going to work for a guy named Nimrod?
I know, but that's not exactly the work he should have been commanding as the best actor like a few years prior. And then just like a couple years after that, man, he was doing Gillette commercials. And now he's nowhere. So
amazing.
Sucks to suck, I guess.
I watched K9. They put all the K9 films on the Netflix.
Hell yeah, with Belushi, man. The better Belushi.
Fucking watch Belushi. I prefer his co-star, the fucking dog himself. He's very Chad. And I thought it was like a 5 out of 10. It was very, very middle of the road. The best
Most
parts,
dog movies aren't good, dude.
Exactly.
Most of them aren't good.
The best parts was like the scenes where he's driving around broad daylight, and like they didn't want to have the real dog in the car, I guess, because they were afraid he'd jump out or something would happen, he'd get hurt. So they put a stuffed dog in the fucking front seat, and it's so obvious every time it cuts to it. He's in like the weirdest, most awkward looking, the way he's standing is just like he's like half like looking out of the side, very weird, very Chad at the same time.
Can I make a? Can we do buddy cop dog exploitation? Can we just do it?
No.
Which is, it's very similar to, buddy cop kid, right? You could do it with like a cop and a half and getting even with dad. There's just kind of, but not with the kids. There's enough with dogs. We could do Top Dog, K9, Turner and Hooch, of course, is sort of the granddaddy of all of them. There's enough out there.
Exactly. I watched the second remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, just called Body Snatchers.
Mm-hmm.
Came out in 93. That was another one where basically, I was after it was all done, I gave it like a 5 out of 10. Like the best scene in the movie is like Meg Tilly and like fucking that scene where like she basically they find out like, oh shit, something weird's going on. Like the dad wakes up all spaghetti faced and fucking Meg Tilly's acting all creepy and shit. She's like, fucking there's no reason to fucking try to run. There's nobody like you left. And then like after that, like the whole movie takes place on like a military base. This is like a bad setting for the movie, and it's got like what's her name from Child's Play 2, Kyle, like she's in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 10. Fucking, it was forgettable, but Meg Tilly was pretty top notch in that movie. Very Stacy.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch the Chucky movies again. And I can never get the lady to watch Child's Play movies. Like, she won't have it. And I want to actually make her sit down and watch it. Because I've been wanting to watch even the third one I kind of want to watch. But I want to watch the first two.
The third one's amazing.
I wonder if that series is going to be good.
No.
Do you have any high hopes for the series?
It's going to be on Sci-Fi. It's going to be shit.
I know that does suck. They couldn't get a high bidder that was on a more premium.
I'm just playing. I'm being cynical. Fucking, I actually enjoyed Channel Zero. A couple of those season 2. I liked overall. I think that was my favorite.
And that's the
weird little story.
Then I see. Is that the what's it called? Anthology show?
Yeah.
And didn't I see T-Shirt Joe praise it on the Facebooks this week?
He might have.
Yeah, he posted. Is there no season 3?
I think season 3 was last season, and I don't think they're coming back.
Because he was saying, I think he was reviewing season 2, and this was this week. He's like, I don't know why it took me so long to watch season 2 because I really like season 1, but he's like this. He said he really, really enjoyed it, and he actually looks forward to season 3, moving on to that. So, and he's a cynical bastard. So if he likes something, it's when he breaks character and actually shows appreciation for something, it must be good.
Mm-hmm. So, I finally watched Hubie Halloween.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay. What'd you think?
I gave it a 4 out of 10. I did not like it at all. See, I was watching it and I was like, man, nobody's talked about this since it came out. This is probably one of those movies I had to watch right when it came out around Halloween for it to like do anything for me. And then after it was over, I was like, yeah, probably.
No, 100%. It's one of those movies that the thing it has going for it is it's very Halloween-y. It feels like Halloween. It's a good movie to watch at Halloween. The movie itself is nothing to write home about. And you got Steve Buscemi.
I had to watch it with subtitle. I couldn't figure out what fucking Sandler was saying half the time.
Oh, okay.
He was practically inaudible most of the movie.
Yeah, and you get a lot of cutaway scenes of Steve Buscemi in a basement, like scratching himself and howling in the dark. Fucking
Amazing.
Stupid. I mean, I have a soft spot for any movie that's that aesthetically Halloween. I mean, Halloween isn't even like that in real life anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you go to any town in this country where it actually is that Halloween, like they can do in a movie like that? It's just like an Ernest Scared Stupid or something. I could imagine an adult, like if my grandfather watched Ernest Scared Stupid with us when we were kids, he probably would have said, this is the stupidest fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. That's probably similar, but because it's got a Halloween aesthetic, I think you can at least appreciate that. But
fucking any adult would cum their pants watching Ernest Scared Stupid for the first time.
Which, by the way, speaking of that, did you see that they're doing maybe they already had it this weekend, or maybe it is this weekend. There's a fundraiser going on. I think it's this weekend to raise money for a Jim Varney. What's it called? What do you fucking call it? Documentary.
Oh.
Yeah, like a real career defining, spanning, really, really in-depth documentary. They're trying to get funding and financing for it. So, and he deserves it. You know, he kind of seems like one of those guys that once he died, he just kind of died. You know what I mean? Like everything about him died. Because it seems like Ernest was showing up in a new movie every fucking year, even if it was just like straight to video. He was kind of always all over the place.
What if it was all Ernest fatigue? They were like, he died, and they were like, finally, I gotta see these fucking movies. And they didn't mourn his death because they were just so fucking over Ernest. Very low T, these people.
And Plemke in our Patreon chat, yeah, Jim Varney was also Slinky Dog too, but you know, they replaced him. They just recast him. But it just seems like, yeah, he was Slinky Dog. He pretty much existed in the 90s. That was his heyday. I know Ernest came out in the 80s, but let's be real. He was a 90s kid thing. So you had the best Ernest sequels in the 90s. You had Toy Story in the 90s. I think did he still play Slinky Dog at Toy Story 2? And he died like during the promotional circuit of that.
Not sure.
I think he was still in Toy Story 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. But I think he died like right when that movie was coming out and he couldn't be a part of any of the promotional shit. And then he was in the Beverly Hillbillies reboot, which was kind of groundbreaking. Like it seemed like a decade after Beverly Hillbillies came out, it was the in vogue thing to do to remake all these old shows from back in the day, but sort of make them kind of parody.
I've never seen that movie still, I don't think.
I've watched it. I don't remember I don't remember it being very good. That's probably why I don't remember much about it. But you know, a decade or so later, they were pumping out Starsky and Hutch, Charlie's Angels, Dukes of Hazzard, and they were these sort of exaggerated versions of what they used to be, you know, almost like shticky. And I can't think of an example earlier than the Beverly Hillbillies that did it. But I'd be curious to go back and watch it. I think I've tried watching it twice, and I don't recall it being very good. But anyway, and he was on Roseanne. I remember he had a guest spot on Roseanne for a few episodes.
Speaking of that, I did watch the newest season of The Conners. Have you been watching that still?
I watch it every now and again. I'm not like on it, but every now and again, if I got down to watch on a lunch break, I'll turn on Hulu and I'm like, oh, The Conners, okay. And I'll just kind of work my way through it. My opinion on The Conners is you can't have that show without Roseanne. I think it's fine. But to me, without Roseanne in the show, it's just a very vanilla, basic, run-of-the-mill sitcom. In my opinion, it loses what made it unique when you take out Roseanne.
You know what's funny is I always thought John Goodman was the character I wanted to know more about. Watching Roseanne back in the day. And then I remember when that first Roseanne, when it came back, I was like, fucking this. It seems like fucking every character is just kind of like a background ornament for Roseanne. And then when it was like, oh, it's coming back with John Goodman and everybody else, because I noticed like fucking like a DJ, like fucking like
he's nothing. He's nothing. He pops in like once every 3 episodes and says one thing on the way out the door. Yeah, you could tell Michael Fishman's. He's not an actor. He sucks. He's terrible.
He just got out of it and doesn't want to do much of it. Maybe, yeah.
He was a kid actor. You know, his parents got him in acting when he's like a little guy, and he just sort of got grandfathered into this sitcom being a little kid. But he was never a great actor, and he just kind of got worse. And yeah, he got out of it, and they threw him a whole bunch of cash because it's like, well, we need DJ to be in it, but he's not really in it. He just kind of shows up every now and again, I guess, to represent that. Oh, we need to represent like a mixed couple, right? Well, let's have that be DJ, but he'll just kind of show up every now and again. The closest they got to giving him an arc was, I think, in the first season when they implied he was suffering from PTSD from being in the military and needing a therapist, but they never went anywhere with that, right? It just kind of like went away. Like, yeah, he can't act or something.
Do you know there's still like 3 episodes from that Roseanne season that didn't air?
That's fucked up.
Like there were still like 2 or 3 episodes left, if I remember right.
And that's bullshit because I enjoyed that first season of do you call it the first season of Roseanne coming back, or do you call it the last season? I don't know how you refer to it, but it's like this weird segue season into the Conners. Like it feels like it doesn't count. Like what the fuck is it? But I enjoyed it. I felt like it still needed to find its footing, but I was looking forward to, I think when it would have came back for a season 2, it would have been, because you know how it is. Like they came back after all these years and it was this big deal. They kind of had to do all this fucking look at the camera bullshit for just to acknowledge the fact that it's been 20 years and they're back. You know what I mean? They had to get all their Trump joke because they're 20 years behind. They had to get all that fucking modern fucking shit out of their systems. They had to make the Trump jokes, the Hillary jokes. They had to comment on, like I said, the wink, wink, nudge, nudge at the camera and shit like that. Oh, we got to make all these people appear. But once they kind of got through that, I felt like season 2 was kind of going to get back into some good story, and we never got it.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Lame.
Fucking dead in the dirt.
I feel bad for Roseanne. I kind of feel bad for her, man. People pick and choose who they want to give sympathy or or empathize with someone that has like a mental illness, because she clearly is mentally ill, man. Like, well, I don't know. People just pick and choose who they want in their little club. Like, we're gonna go after this person. We don't give a shit if this is the case with them or not. We just don't like them. We're going after them. It's kind of fucked up.
I think 10 years from now, they're going to reboot it again. And they're just going to act like fucking, yeah, she died. Fucking Dan died like 20 years later or earlier. He came back.
Yeah. Well, they won't do that. Plus, they bought her out, right? She did get a fat payday because she owned the show.
Oh, she should have said on it. Fucking very low T, Roseanne.
Go, yeah. Well, so she, not to get too off topic and talking about Roseanne so much, but no, so she didn't even fight when all this stuff went down. She willingly just sold on the show, took a fat payday because she did not want to cost anybody work, because you had all these people lined up working on the show again and all this shit happened. She's like, I don't even want to like put everybody through this. So, acting like the sacrificial lamb or whatever. So that's why she said, I just signed it away. So she no longer owns it, but she got a payday. She's probably doing okay.
Fucking, anyway. You think she spent it all on fucking coke, fucking dank 2020 snacks?
I don't know, but all I know is Darlene Sarah Gilbert. She's not interesting enough to carry the show. And then Becky, they're not interesting enough to carry it. They're just not. I don't give a shit about Darlene's relationship with that one fucking guy she works at the newspaper with or whatever it is. Who gives a shit about that? I don't give a shit about.
Yes,
I mean, Dan, I guess. Go ahead. Yeah, what was your review of it?
I didn't think Roseanne was interesting enough when the show came back.
I think they just needed a little time. They needed to kind of get the ball rolling. After that first season, I was given it the benefit of the doubt. Like, they always do this. It's like, it's been so long. It's like they're just kind of doing the setup. And then I think season 2 is going to kind of get the ball rolling again, in my opinion. But
you need them well-hung chads that just skip the setup. Fuck, the show's been set up for fucking 5 other seasons.
Yeah, they feel like they have to remind everybody because it has been so long. But I think that would have been cool if they just literally showed up like it was the next day after the finale and the fucking Dan never died and all that shit. And they just do a quick little acknowledgement and then just carry on with a new episode as if no time has passed. But, it's been 20-something years, man. All these people are grown up. DJ's had a kid now. He's went to the military. They have to sort of take time addressing all that shit. So I fully understood that there's going to be sort of a season full of fluff. And then we're going to kind of get into it. Anyway, but what's your opinion of the Connors, though?
It's fine.
Overall.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's whatever. You know what I mean? It's just a very palatable, basic, fucking vanilla sitcom now. I mean, like, I don't think it's special. And I'm actually surprised it keeps getting picked up, to be honest with you. But anyway, do you have anything else? You want me to go into the couple things that I watched?
That's all I got.
Well, speaking of, first thing is TV, then I have a movie. The one thing I've been watching, I've been going down the rabbit hole the past few days on YouTube, watching old episodes of MADtv.
Amazing.
And just sort of, nostalgia, man. Dude, I tell you what, look, I didn't notice it back then, probably because everything out in pop culture sort of fit this norm. But watching it now through the lens of 2021, MADtv was kind of racy. Like, none of that stuff would fly today. Like, a lot of racial humor, right? A lot of stereotypical humor. Actually, a lot of their skits were based around black stereotypes, Asian stereotypes, homosexual stereotypes.
The lowest common denominator shit.
But yeah, it really was. But man, some of it was really funny. Some of it was really funny. And I'm like, I just can't believe they were doing some of this stuff. They just couldn't do MADtv today. But I got to be honest, I was watching these episodes of Mad. I was watching a lot of like compilations. Like, there's a YouTube channel out there that has like volumes he puts together, which is great. It's actually better than watching whole episodes because he just puts together these fucking 2-hour long 20 volumes worth of just what he considers to be the best of the best of that show was on for like 14, 15 years. It's the second longest running sketch comedy show outside of SNL. Obviously SNL is by and large number one, but that's pretty impressive. It was on for like 15 years or something like that. But no, I found myself laughing, and I loved how 90s it all felt. Like I liked all the 90s references, and it was kind of funny and refreshing, kind of getting some of that humor that you couldn't get today. And I think SNL was really funny in certain eras, and maybe I'm biased, but yeah, I think SNL during the early 90s, the Sandler Farley era, I think that was funny. I think there's SNL eras in the 70s and the 80s that were funny. There was shit too, but I found myself laughing at this MADtv shit I've been watching way more than I've laughed at SNL in the past 20 years. That's a fact.
Remember whenever which president was it that like fucking like his son was in like fucking Chris Farley basically mocked his like 12-year-old son in a skit, and it was fucking hilarious. Like I always remember that. And then like fucking very Chad, like they just mocked a kid. That's very funny.
Well, I can't think of a president during that time that had a little boy, because when Chris Farley was on SNL, you had Bush and Clinton, right?
I want to say it was like fucking like Chris Christie or something like that.
Okay, so like the governor at the time, or somebody like that. Okay, so like another politician, because George Bush's fucking sons were all old as fuck when he was in office, and then obviously Clinton had Chelsea Braceface. Anyway, the only other thing I watched is The Big Short, that Adam McKay movie that came out about 5-6 years ago about the housing bubble, right? When the whole housing market crashed. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was good. It's a 6 or a 7 out of 10. It was informative. It's a very talking about the way stock markets and using all that lingo and talking about a housing bubble and mortgage bank lingo. Like, it's a really, really cumbersome topic, and it's kind of hard to grasp for most people. So they made this movie. They made one of the characters almost like a narrator. You have Ryan Gosling, and the whole movie, they kind of are being tongue in cheek and acknowledging that most of the audience isn't going to understand the topic. Like, they'll be talking about all this shit and like using all these words and terms. They'll kind of break it and go, "You're probably wondering, what the fuck is this? Blah, blah, blah." Well, and they'll go to like a segue that's totally unrelated. Here's Margot Robbie in a hot tub to explain. And she'll be like in a bikini in a bubble bath, and she'll be telling you, what a short squeeze is or what. So it's kind of weird. It was good though. It was informative. Good, not great. That's it.
Sounds like it'd be great if it was just like you put it on mute and just look at fucking Margot Robbie in a fucking hot tub.
Well, she just shows up for a second, like for like a minute, and then it goes back to the main narrative.
And then it drops another star.
And they'll talk about something else, like people shorting something, and they're explaining how something works and how synthetic shares of something can exist. He's like, well, it might sound confusing. Well, here's Selena Gomez and some other person here to explain it to you. And they're like at a Vegas casino. It's like, what the fuck? It's supposed to be kind of a comedy, but it's all right. But it's a good movie for anybody that wants to inform themselves of that period on when all that shit happened. And it really shows you how fucked up our system is and how fucked up the banks are.
Oh, it's amazing. Anyway. It's amazing.
Anyway. So that's all we got. Now, news. Was there anything we had to talk about news-wise that's happened since last week? Last week, we didn't have any news. Before we take a break and we get into the meat.
The Conjuring 3 is coming out in a couple days.
I was going to say that too. And I saw an ad for it, and I'm like, oh, that's coming to HBOMAX? That's a bonus. Because I wouldn't go see it in theaters, but I'll watch it on HBOMAX.
So it's The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Is this the Amityville? Or what case is this?
No, it's not. Oh, is it?
I don't know.
Well, no, because I thought in the second movie, they were just getting off the Amityville case. Like they segged away, like they acted like they had already handled the Amityville, right? Isn't that what or did they get a call about Amityville? There was something in one of them. I'm going to look it up because now I'm curious.
I think they did get a call about it, yeah.
But I thought it was like an afterthought, like they did it off screen. You know what I mean? I'm going to see what it's about real quick. It says here, which is based on the trial of Arne Cheyenne Johnson, a murder trial that took place in 1981 Connecticut. So that is not Yeah, they just sort of did it in passing. They didn't like. I think that was a segue. Like maybe it was after the first movie, or maybe it was after the second movie. I can't remember, but it was like an Easter egg. Like, oh, we got a call. They want you to go handle something, some case in Amityville. All right, it was like the fucking like Marvel Easter egg, and but it was just a tease. They never actually explored it.
Fucking
Anyway,
tease.
I will watch it for not for free because we pay for it, obviously, but I will watch it on HBO. That's okay with me. What else? There was something else I saw news-wise. Not, I'm looking at this article, by the way. It's not really news, but I'm on Dread Central, and somebody wrote an article, and it says, rewatching Sleepaway Camp today as a parent of a transgender child. I'm not even going to read the article, but I do think that's funny, because when you watch Sleepaway Camp today, it is really funny how like they portrayed, Angela's character. And how fucked up she was because of the gender identity thing. And it's like, I remember watching that.
She wasn't even transgender. They forced her to do it.
Yeah, they fucked her up and shit like that. So that's why I'm afraid to read the article, because I don't know if they're really grasping the story and why she was. Well, no, what I thought was funny about that is didn't they act like she was really traumatized, or she was traumatized when she saw like the dad, having sex with the other guy, like. Oh, seeing homosexuality was that traumatizing where it sent her on this spiral. But you know what I'm saying? Didn't they paint that as like a really, really big thing in that movie?
I don't think they were. I think it was just like that was thrown in there to be like fucking throw you off about what's weird about Angela, because you were just supposed to be wondering the whole time. Because it's like fucking I walked in on my parents fucking. I would never that was weird, but it wouldn't fuck me up to see like it's like we all done that. Like fucking when you're a kid, you don't know any different. Very low T.
Did you? You walked in on your parents?
Oh yes.
Yeah. What were they doing?
Fucking.
Yeah, but how was it?
Awesome.
Yeah, what was your dad doing?
I don't remember.
Where was your mom? Was she on her back?
I don't remember.
Okay, well, tell me after the show.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's not really a lot going on in news, so I think this is a great time to just sort of take a break, gather our thoughts, and we'll be right back, and we're going to talk about some Nightbreed. The big question is, I think, I don't know where Zach stood before. I had seen the director's cut, and I hadn't seen the theatrical. I didn't know if Zach was backwards. Were you backwards?
I'd never seen the theatrical. I saw the director's cut.
Okay, so we're on the same page. So we're going to talk about the movie as a whole, and then we'll just kind of go over the differences. But we'll be back in just a minute. See you then.
Who's buried in Midian?
Ain't nothing but dead folk.
Somewhere, hidden from sight, closer than you might think, is a place that's not on any map. Midian.
Something's breeding there.
It looks a lot like hell, but they call it home.
There goes the neighborhood.
They're not pretty. They're not neighborly.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
They're not even human. But this time, they're the good guys. From the imagination of Clive Barker comes Nightbreed.
You can't go down there!
They have only one enemy. A beast called Man, sworn to destroy the Nightbreed.
Sounds like we're going head-to-head with the devil himself.
And only one chance. A man called Boone.
It's time to fight! Go get 'em, boys! I'll kill you all! What chance have we got? They're armed. So am I.
Out of your deepest fears and your darkest fantasies, Clive Barker brings you a startling new breed of adventure.
I won't let you down.
Nightbreed. At last, the night has a hero.
Outstanding.
All right, and we're back, everybody. Did you have fun? Dax, did you take a piss? Did you get a piss cup?
I pissed a big ass fucking, like I just filled up the whole jar in one sitting. Fucking bam. So much piss.
All right. So we're going to be talking about a movie that when it came out in 1990 was a critical and commercial failure. Over time, it's become a bit of a cult classic. I had only ever seen the director's cut, and when I saw it, first of all, to sort of preface everything, this is a movie that somehow escaped me in my glory days of rentals, movie rental stores.
I always saw this on the shelf, thought it looked cool,
And we never rented.
but I never rented it.
Yeah, always.
And then
Yeah, it missed us.
like whenever the internet was coming around and like the DVD was out, like I saw I could never find the DVD, and I saw people talking about like, oh yeah, I love fucking Nightbreed, so like I was all excited to watch it, and I fucking finally did with the director's cut whenever fucking our boys put it out at Scream Factory.
And I think he's gonna say the same thing as me. So yeah, we used to see it all the time, and yeah, like Zach, it looks sweet. The cover was sweet. The VHS box was sweet. I don't know why we never watched it. It even advertised Clive Barker on there. I'm like, we had rented Hellraiser. We rented horror movies all the fucking time. I couldn't tell you why we never rented Nightbreed. It's just one of those ones that slipped through the cracks. And I always wanted to watch it. And there was a time later on where it's not a movie that was easily accessible. I mean, you could rent it, I guess, but it wasn't a movie they were showing on TV. Do you recall them ever showing it like on cable and shit? I never did.
No, and like now,
No.
you can't find the theatrical version. Like it's one of those movies where the director's cut came out, and now every time you find a copy of it, it's always the director's cut too.
So I feel like the fact that we never rented it when I was a kid, it made it harder for me to watch it after the fact. Just because, when it's not like in your face, you kind of forget about stuff. That's just the way it is. And if it's not on TV and shit like that, it just kind of gets buried. So I always wanted to see it too. And I'm sure Zach agrees with me. I finally watched it eventually, and I was disappointed. I'm like, oh, this isn't the movie I thought it was.
I was let down, exactly, because everybody was talking about how fucking great it was. They're building it up in the mind. And yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll read this Wikipedia kind of summary about the plot and the movie itself. It says, Nightbreed is a 1990 American dark fantasy horror film written and directed by Clive Barker, based on his 1988 novella Cabal. It stars Craig Schaefer, Ann Bobby, David Cronenberg, Charles Hayde, Hugh Quarshie, and Doug Bradley. The film follows an unstable mental patient named Aaron Boone, who was falsely led to believe by his doctor that he is a serial killer, and tracked down by the police, his doctor and his girlfriend Lori. Boone eventually finds refuge in an abandoned cemetery called Midian among a tribe of monsters and outcasts known as the Nightbreed, who hide from humanity. And then it says, at the time of its release, the film was a commercial and critical failure. In several interviews, Barker protested that the film company tried to sell it as a standard slasher movie, and that the powers that be had no real working knowledge of Nightbreed's story. Since its initial theatrical release, Nightbreed has become a cult film. Over time, Barker expressed disappointment with the final cut, approved by the studio, and always longed for the recovery of the reels so that the film might be re-edited. And in 2014, original film elements for much of the cut material were reobtained and were edited into a director's cut released through Scream Factory. Now, this isn't the Cabal cut, because there's a director's cut and a Cabal cut, which isn't widely available. The only way you can see the Cabal cut is like fucking if you're just friends with Clive Barker, or like you jumped on this really limited release. And apparently they couldn't put the Cabal cut out as the director's cut because there's some of the stuff from that is taken from a work print VHS, and that's all that is that's still surviving of that footage.
So when Shout Factory put this out, they put also a limited to 10,000 copy 3-disc version that included a third disc, which was the theatrical cut. That one's hard to find now. So the basic one that I own, and I think maybe Zach owns, or the one you find now that's got like the red themed cover, that one's just the director's cut and then the bonus feature disc. Which is weird. It's like, why do you have to make the theatrical cut like this big special fucking thing where it has to be so limited and shit. Like, what happened to the days of being able to put both versions on a single disc? Like, what is it really hurting?
I think most people just decided that they don't want the fucking theatrical cut anymore. And like now it's like the director's cut. We have the definitive cut. Fuck that other shit. And for a while we've been wanting to do this for Enema, compare both cuts. And like we couldn't find the theatrical cut for a long time. But then just out of nowhere, Voodoo has it streaming with ads. If you watch it, the cut looked really bad. It wasn't even in HD. They didn't get that fucking Scream Factory Blu-ray, I guess.
No.
Very low T.
So before we get too heavy into it, let's talk. You mentioned the casting. Craig Schaefer, who was this guy where they wanted to make happen. It seems like in the late 80s, early 90s, they were trying to push for Craig Schaefer to be a thing, and he just didn't take off. You know, he was in things like A River Runs Through It. I think he's even in Fire in the Sky, right? Is he in that too?
Maybe.
Because I remember watching Fire in the Sky, and I'm like, God, this is like, this whole cast is a who's who of almost was, right? You got Robert Patrick, you got all these guys that were almost leading men.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and then you have Cronenberg as Decker, the psychiatrist / serial killer, who, by the way, can't act for shit. He's a little bit more fitting when he's like wearing the mask and he's showing his psychopathy a little bit, right? Then his kind of cheesy acting kind of works. But when he's, you know, trying to be the manipulative doctor and talking to everybody else, he's a little deadpan for me. Maybe he's supposed to be. I don't know.
His voice is so monotone. Like I've actually like I've tried to watch the director's commentary of The Fly at least 3 times, and every single time he puts me to sleep with his voice.
What's the history of him being in this movie, by the way? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know. Apparently he was writing Naked Lunch while he was filming this movie in his off time. And he did a couple acting things. He was in like fucking Jason X for no reason. Like in the beginning of Jason X.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I don't know. And I've heard like stories recently that John Carpenter said like he used to hang out with him, and like fucking one time, like the last time they met, he was like fucking he wouldn't acknowledge him. Like he became an artist all of a sudden, and fucking our boy Carpenter, he was like fuck this, and he fucking left. Very Chad of Carpenter.
So I don't know how you want to do. I think we should. Should we just talk about the version we just watched and then maybe kind of talk about the differences after the fact, just to kind of keep it clean and organized? Is that what you want to do?
Basically, yeah, we can go through the plot. Fucking, yes.
So I want to say something. Yeah, you can totally do it, but I want to say something that the synopsis that you just read kind of glossed over. He's having these dreams, right? He's having these strange dreams about this mysterious place, right? And he doesn't know where it's coming from. I guess we're supposed to believe that's because he was part of this prophecy. Like, they don't really explain why he's having these visions, right? But
yeah, at the end, you find out he's part of a prophecy.
So maybe that's why. But go ahead and just go ahead and tell the synopsis in your words, and then we'll break it down.
So Craig Schaefer, he's this guy. He's having dreams about this weird place, and these monsters, and it's really vague about like what, like, because he talks about how he's like drawn to it, and it's really vague whether, because he doesn't even mention like he wants, like, they can forgive your sins or something like that. It's like, what has he done that he needs forgiven? Like, he doesn't seem like fucking
dude, I'm going to tell you right now, the whole movie is very muddled. And I think this is where the movie fails, because yeah, you're asking a question like that. We can only assume, like, is it because the doctor put into his head and convinced him he's a serial killer? Because he's not. Right? Is he feeling this like artificial guilt for something he never did? Which, by the way, that's what he's doing, right? The doctor is manufacturing. He's basically putting in his head that he committed these murders that the doctor really did, Decker, right? What's his motive? Dude, they're not clear on this. It takes a couple of watches to really kind of figure it out. But you know what I mean? Like,
I did watch.
It's hard to really catch that.
The version of basically I was talking about, like, I had a monster vision with Joe Bob Briggs where he did Nightbreed, and I was thinking like, oh, that should be the theatrical cut, because as long as the guy that put it together fucking paid attention, but he didn't. He put the fucking the director's cut. So I watched the director's cut with Joe Bob, and he was mentioning like, this movie doesn't make a lick of sense about basically he's doing that whole shit.
I would love it if you can watch a Joe. That would be the ultimate way of watching, especially this theatrical version version, a Joe Bob, because it is very muddled, man. I mean, I get it. Decker is trying to implant this self-blame of these murders that never happened that he did, but you don't catch it. Do you really follow that? Is that really something you actually grasp? You're just asking yourself, why is this happening?
It glosses over it because, like, yeah, Deckard is Cronenberg's character, and he plays the main character's like psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever. And like, so he goes to him and basically he tells him like, "Oh yeah, you've been talking about these dreams you've been having." He basically he's got crime scene photos, and he's like, "Yeah, you've been describing these murders that have been taking place." And so he's like, I'm going to give you like a day or two, and you got to confess to the police. And like, so basically, yeah, we find out that Deckard is the one who's murdering people.
Can I ask you a question? Is his motive just to pin the crimes on somebody else? Is that really it? Is that because
I think that's what we're supposed to take away from it, but they don't come right out and say it.
Because, well, the thing is yeah, nothing is right. The thing is they, he's talking about this place that ends up being a cemetery in his dreams. Deckard seems so gung-ho about finding this place too. You'd expect that the reason for him getting in his head so bad is something to do with that. Like he's more thought out, but I don't know if that's the case. Like, is the only reason he's interested in this place is because his patient Craig Schaefer's been talking about it? And then, you know what I mean? Like, what came first? Was he trying to fuck him up in the head before he found out about this place?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm confused. Like, what's his interest in this place? Because he's just a regular guy.
When he finds out that Craig Schaefer went there and all that stuff, he seems to like not know anything about it. Like, he seems to be finding that shit out.
He doesn't even know. He assumes it's a town. And if you were really that schooled on it, you'd be like, "There's no town." You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But you know, yeah. Like I said, continue. Sorry.
So yeah, the one thing that's different in the theatrical and the director's cut is like in the director's cut they gave the main character Schaefer, his girlfriend, something to do, and she's like in a band, and there's this one scene where she's like performing, and he goes and sees her at a nightclub, but like that's the only scene really. But like without that, like she's literally just like set decoration in the theatrical version. She's just there for like, you know, a plot device basically to basically get Schaefer fucking something to fight for, I guess. But yeah, like
there's one other difference with her that we'll get into like as we go along with the story. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. So like he basically our boy. I mentioned Cronenberg is the real killer, and that's the first time I watched this, that opening scene where like where he's killing like the family,
the slasher. Yeah,
that was the most memorable scene for me watching it. Like,
so it sounds like Clive Barker should have been happy that they were trying to angle it as a slasher. They should have actually went hardcore on that because that was the most interesting thing.
But it's not even like that. The weird thing about it is like it's like, oh, it's Clive Barker, but it doesn't have like the big things that make Clive Barker what he is. Like I don't think some of the monsters look cool. Like
they kind of look like Cenobite-esque, like, right?
Yeah, but some of them, like especially like I think all the monsters that are kind of like fucking like the movie is kind of around like the main character monsters. I think they're kind of lame looking. Like we got fucking I coined
guy with big chin, Moon.
I coined his name fucking Mr. Banana Head.
Okay, I was gonna say he looked like a fucking moon, like a half moon. Okay, banana head.
And then we got red face predator, fucking very Chad. He looks like they just rolled up like long strings of Play-Doh and glued it to his head. Like, and we got that fat guy who kind of looks like Dan Aykroyd mixed with Bulk from Bulk and Skull.
Yeah, Bulk. I was gonna say Otho from Beetlejuice, and there you go. But Bulk's good.
And they just like they put some black makeup around his eyes, and he's a monster now.
He looks. It's Paul Bearer, my Undertaker.
It seemed like they just ran out of budget for some, and it just happened.
They had a guy with a dog. A guy with a dog looks totally normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
skinny guy with a dog.
See, I was wondering. Like at first, I saw Doug Bradley was in it, and I was like, "Is he the guy with the shaved head?" Maybe he came back under the condition that like, oh, I don't want to wear any makeup. But no, he's like the like Pope-esque guy.
The leader. Yeah, the leader of their little group.
And apparently that was a difference. Like apparently whenever
overdubbed.
Yeah, they overdubbed his voice. for the theatrical cut, and like for the director's cut, they got him to redub. They didn't even have the original like just dialogue or like audio they filmed. They probably they had to redub it again. Very not cool.
And I had read that he was really disappointed when they told him that, because they're like, yeah, we ended up having to redub your voice because of whatever reason, but we didn't want to pay a lot of money, so we got an unknown guy to read all your dialogue. We didn't even want to give you the phone call. He's like, well, that's fucked. Thanks.
Exactly.
But so Cronenberg tells him to go confess. On his way to go confess, he gets hit by a fucking truck, right?
Yeah.
He gets hit by a truck, and then he gets taken to the hospital, and that's where he meets Narcisi, I think is how I don't know how you pronounce his name, the guy with the face that ripped off skin. And that, I get it, but to me, it's not translating well what's happening. He meets him there, and he clearly recognizes him, like via prophecy shit, but he doesn't realize this yet. He's saying all these things like, oh, it's a test. Like because Craig Schaefer Boone wants to know, Aaron Boone wants to know, hey, where is this place? And and he's saying things like, oh, okay, it must be a test, because he looks at him as some sort of prophet. And okay, I got to show you my real face. There's always this is what was confusing. Was he a human and he had never been there, and he was killing himself as like a sacrifice, and he was crazy, and then he killed himself by ripping his skin off? Or was he already a Nightbreed and he was taking off his face, and that was like his
I think
deformity?
He was alive. I assumed he's like that old guy we meet later who wanted to be a part of him, but they wouldn't let him or whatever he mentions.
But when he meets him a little bit later, when Craig Schaefer ends up going there and he's dead, we're jumping ahead, and he's there, and he looks like he's been there for 50 years. Like, oh man, welcome aboard, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, so it was really confusing. Like, you'd think they'd both be new.
Yeah.
It's like, it's confusing on, the agendas of everybody and the backgrounds of everybody. But anyway, they're at the hospital. The guy starts ripping his face off. All the nurses and doctors come and apprehend him, and he books it like, whoa, what the fuck's going on here? Right. But he did tell him where the place was. He pointed it out, and he gave him the best directions ever by just pointing out the window, because he found it. It was like fucked up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he just kind of points.
He put the waypoint on his map.
Yeah, okay, like on a fucking NPC, put the waypoint on his map. He just kind of points towards some mountains, and then he finds it. But whatever, I'll bite. So he makes it, and it's a cemetery, and he just falls asleep. He just must have been a long walk.
He knows he has to be there. He don't know why, so he gets there and he falls asleep. I assume like he gets there during the day, and he seems to know like, oh, I need to be here at night. So that's what I assumed, like he was falling asleep for. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he's got this subconscious like sixth sense of what he has to do, because he's, like I said, it's his prophecy, I guess. I don't fucking know. But anyway, nighttime falls, and then Red Predator and Banana Head find him, and Red Predator wants to fuck him up because he's meat or whatever he keeps saying. Banana Head's like, no, it's the law. You can't touch him. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we don't know this yet, but we come to find out, Red Predator fucking bites him. But later on in the movie, he's just trying to enact the prophecy, right? Because it was like all in the hieroglyphs and shit, right? Like the red guy biting the other guy and infecting him or whatever the fuck ever. But you'd think if that's what he was doing, why isn't he telling Banana Head that? He's just acting like a savage. Like, I don't give a shit. I just want to.
He's acting very aggro for no reason. Very low T.
Like, why not just tell him, like, dude, this is the guy. This is the prophecy. I got to fulfill my part of the prophecy and fucking turn him. But it doesn't make sense. But anyway, he bites him. I think he ends up, He runs away from them, but he's still on the property. At this point, the doctor is led the fuck, because the doctor's feeding the cops all these lies about him, right? Everything he's putting him in a bad, because he sent them there to confess, and then he left the hospital in that bad situation. He's trying to point them all towards him, like, this is the guy that's doing it. And they lead him to the fucking graveyard, and then he's like, let me talk to him. I know how to talk to him. And this was a weird fucking scene too. So Cronenberg goes up to him while the cops are standing by, and he's talking to Craig Schaefer, who's just been bit by fucking Red Predator. And all of a sudden he goes, he has a gun, and he moves, and they just fucking light him up. Is that how it works?
Yeah,
I don't think that's how it works.
He throws him under the bus. Basically, he wanted them to kill, so he just yelled, he has a gun, and he fucking jumps away, and they shoot him.
Is that all anybody has to do? Am I allowed to just say, hey, he has a gun?
Amazing.
You know what I mean? And I think they were all nonchalant because when they light him up, they fucking load him up full of bullets.
And this is fucking America. He's allowed to have a gun. What the fuck you shoot him for?
But you know what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
They walk up to him. The I don't know if he was like a captain or whatever. The black guy, right? The black cop. He goes, I don't see a gun. Like he's very nonchalant about it. Like, where's the gun? And he's like, oh, well, he reached into his pocket. Like, okay, well, that's all there is to that. No. I think there will be a lot of paperwork being done. A lot of people fucking pulling their hair out. You don't think that would just be one and done? Like, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And
so
then,
I don't know.
And then like, yeah, so then the girlfriend, she wants to know what happened to her lover. So like, I forget how she finds out about Midian.
Okay, so I think she was hearing about it. He was telling her all about it, right?
Yeah,
they were boyfriend and girlfriend, yeah. And then she was going to look for him. And then she stops off at this fucking bar and she meets this one fucking hood rat. And for some reason, they actually bring her into the next scene and they're at a diner together. I guess they had an all-nighter. And they decide to go to Midian together for some reason, only for her.
She convinces this other character she met in a bar to go with her just so there's somebody that fucking Cronenberg.
To get killed.
Cronenberg can kill, yeah.
Now, the person she was talking about at the diner, was that the Cronenberg? Yeah, the Cronenberg character. Like, oh, I met this guy. He's
yeah.
That what are the chances? What?
Yeah, it's weird because Cronenberg had to have known where Midian is to like follow her. You'd think, but then it sets up that he didn't, and it's really confusing.
But she's in the diner talking about I'm meeting this guy that I just met, and she's talking about Cronenberg, but she says he's not a doctor. He says he's something else, but it's like a different profession. I don't fucking know. But it's kind of confusing. And she said something to the fact of like, he's got plans or something, right? So I can come with you, something fucking vague. And they go to Midian, but then when she's left alone, she turns around and she says the name of the boyfriend that she was talking about at the diner when she sees Decker, implying that that's the guy. And I'm thinking, what kind of small world is this? Like, was Decker planning to murder her? Was he like going on fucking white pages and, you know, male seeking female to like rip their skin off? But I'm saying, what is the odds that she was having this relationship with Decker and she just happened to meet Lori at the bar? You know what I mean?
I guess you can write all this off because it's all part of a prophecy. It could all just it's supposed to happen this way.
Yeah, I would say that too if I wrote this piece of shit.
Fuck it, this is amazing. Don't fucking shit on our boy Clive.
But
see, I was gonna say that. I was like, this is a Clive Barker movie, but that's one thing that I was let down about. It doesn't have like the super like sexual type of tones. Like there's no sex in the movie at all. And like none of the monsters are kind of like, you know.
It's, you know what, dude, it's fucking one of those movies, man. Oh, humanity's the monster.
Hell yeah.
How many? You know what I mean? We've seen this before. Right? It's humanity. We, the human beings, we're the real bad guys.
Yeah, I wonder if it had something to do with like the studio fun. Because like to me, he never made a movie as good as his first with Hellraiser, and that's the only one he got to make independently. Everything else that he was involved with had a studio like touching it and stuff, so they had final say.
And who's to say? I mean, he might just be a Romero type, where he had his one fucking perfect hit.
He's got multiple great fucking books though, so you'd expect.
Yeah, you know, and I've never read the Cabal story, so for all I know, the story's better. I don't really know. That would have been the ultimate sentimental if we would have read the story too, but I don't know. I actually liked, for what it's worth. I get it. Did you ever see Midnight Meat Train?
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I'm like it wasn't. It felt like a movie of the week, and it felt like a Tales from the Crypt episode that was an hour and a half long. Like, it didn't feel like it needed to be a whole feature.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it didn't seem like the kind of movie that would have been in the theaters at all. But I liked it, you know, and it's kind of weird that it stars Bradley Cooper, who wasn't really an A-lister yet. But it's like, I kind of like it. It's just like a campfire story, and I kind of dig it. And then when you get to the end of that movie, then it goes full blown Clive Barker with all the weird shit and that subway tunnel into like another dimension into hell. It's like, oh, okay, now it's Clive Barker as fuck. But anyway, yeah, I just think he's got a raw deal as far as like the Hollywood shit. Well, I mean, that's why he doesn't direct anymore. They probably interfered because Lord of Illusions, I like Lord of Illusions better in this movie, but it is flawed too. It's not as good as I want it to be. It's not great, right? So I think maybe it was just one too many straws broke where he's like, I'm fucking done directing. So I don't know if it was a lot of that studio interference that he just couldn't do, but he couldn't deal with anymore. But anywho. So anyway, yeah, they, for some reason, fucking the Slender Man finds both of them at the fucking town, the graveyard, and he kills the fucking weird friend that makes no sense. And
that's when we find out that, okay, Decker's the killer. And we assume, like, okay, so he told the main character this so that he could, like, set him up to take the whole fall and everything.
Is that really when we find out? Or maybe it's just so obvious the whole movie, I kind of don't really, I miss the point of that. Because it's really obvious that's who he is.
I think
You know what I mean?
think when he shows up and she says, "Oh, hey, it's you," like I think that's like, "Oh, what's he doing there?" I think that's when we're supposed to find out. I could be wrong though. I could have missed before.
Yeah, I don't know, but so, and at this point, okay, so Lori, while she's getting killed, Lori's actually searching the graveyard, and she finds that little weird deformed, it looks like Dark Crystal fucking creature, little Jim Henson puppet, like dying on the ground, and we see the one Nightbreed woman, Rachel's her name, that can turn into the mist or whatever. She's in the shadows, like begging her to bring her back into the light. She does. Turns out it's her kid, morphs back, and she's looking for Boone. Like, oh, is Boone here? And then Doug Bradley's like, you must go, blah, blah, blah. They push her out, right? She gets scared away at that point. She doesn't actually pursue it much more after that, right? Or is that when she says, fuck it, I'm going to look for him, and she runs in there? I can't remember.
I think that she does. She's basically like, "Oh, I'm gonna."
She backs off because she finds her friend. Well, at what point did she find her friend dead? I can't remember if she goes because she goes in there. I don't remember. See, the movie's so fucking muddled. I can't remember if she gets scared off at that point. I know at some point she comes back and she sees the car and the blood and her friend's dead. I don't know. But then Slender Man fucking finds her. I'm going to kill you, right?
And then Craig Schaefer talks, "Oh, I got to go save her." And they're telling her.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So she gets scared away, finds her friend. She fucking sees Slender Man Cronenberg chasing after her, and he can like sense it. Because every time like shit's going on above ground, they always show this clip of all of them in the underground like doing shit, like howling, like they can sense something nearby and stuff going wrong. I don't know. And then Craig Schaefer just knows, and he's like, I got to save her. And I think Doug Bradley's like, no, you can't. And he's like, hey, fuck you, cunt. And he does. And I think that's when we actually see him kind of like morph into that weird fucking look he has with a jigsaw shit all over his face. But anyway, he goes to save her. There's a bit of an encounter with him and Slender Man. And from there, when he gets chased off, that's when he goes to that truck stop and he sees that old man, right?
Yeah, this is one of the things I said, did you notice the scene whenever the main character first monsters out in the graveyard and chases Cronenberg's character, like his buddy, like that pulled his face off, like, I wrote down, like, he talks about how he has to show his face underneath his face. And then he cuts around his face, and then he peels off everything but his face. I thought that was very Chad. But like then, the buddy that peeled off everything but his face, he gets all rapey with his girlfriend. He like gets on top of her.
Yeah.
And then we hear her scream. So then the main character, he comes back, because he has to come back to check on his girlfriend, fucking Cronenberg gets away. So he comes back and then he goes, I was just keeping her warm. And it's like, what the fuck were you doing? And then he becomes like the buddy, like the guy that helps save the day.
Yeah, it makes no fucking sense, man. It's so fucking weird.
He helps break Craig Schaefer's character out of jail later. And that's a thing too. I noticed like sometimes being out during the day causes them to turn into a weird wounded animal that can't help itself. Sometimes it causes them to explode into dust. And then whenever it's convenient to the plot, it just like they can paint their windows black and go break Craig Schaefer out of fucking jail and save the day.
Wear sunglasses and a fucking shawl and be good.
Very Chad.
Yeah, it's confusing because, that kind of goes into when, after that scene, Decker goes to that gas station, and Because is that before or after? Does he go to the gas station before or after?
Yeah, basically they told him like, oh, you brought trouble here. The Nightbreed tells him, you brought trouble here. Fuck off. We want nothing to do with you. So they
hold on. But did Decker go to the gas station with that old man and get all the information before he found the place or after? No, because he did. He went after because the old man's like, smells like you've been there. Smells like it. And then he starts questioning him, right? And then for some reason, at first I was like, why is he killing this old man? He comes back around and he's like got his mask on and shit. So he's clearly just delusional. But he ties him up. Yeah, and he's getting info.
He also gives him his motivation for doing what he's doing. Do you remember what it was?
Enlighten me.
It was super flimsy. It was basically this, I hate fucking people, man. They're breeders, and I put an end to it. So I guess he just hates the human race. Is really.
But why does he want to kill the Nightbreeders?
They're not humans. I don't know.
Because he wants to end them too.
Very, very weird. Maybe the Cabal cut made all this make sense.
So, when we kind of get a little bit out of this old man, he wants to be a part of their Cabal, right? Too. And, like Narcissi. And I guess that's probably why he set up shop there. I don't fucking know. It's weird how some people know about this place and some people don't. Like he knew. He's like, oh, it's a graveyard. It's not, because he goes in there like, because he went there after he went to the graveyard and tried to kill Laurie, and he met up with Craig Schaefer and this whole deal, and he got scared off. Even then, he's asking this old man, where is this town? Like, he still doesn't know by now. He's like, it's not a town, it's a graveyard. Smells like you've been there. Like, well, like,
oh,
what?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also wrote down in the bullet points part, I put the scene where Cronenberg listens to the tape recorder and finds out that because he killed, or that Craig Schaefer died in Midian, that means he didn't die and he's like basically undead now. He throws the tape recorder, and I was like, so like that's how. I thought it was funny. Like he hears something that crazy and just believes it. He's just like, oh damn, fuck.
But it's not just him getting killed in Midian. It's also because Red Predator bit him or something.
Yeah.
Like they never go into what makes sense with their lore. Like, do they have to be are they infectable? Are they like zombies?
I wrote down how did the tore off your face guy end up in Midian? Because he didn't die in Midian. He didn't get bit. He died in the hospital.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. Was he a human first or was he already a monster? It's so fucking confusing. That's exactly why I was asking that. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, I was wondering.
But we glossed over it. But it was part of Decker, too, because Decker had one-on-one time with him, remember? Before all that happened, right? Wasn't it Decker that went into... And what was that all about? Like, he
might have been another patient of Deckard's.
He was, and because the thing is he was giving Craig Schaefer prescription drugs, but it was really the hallucinogenics. Like, he was giving him LSD instead of the prescription drugs he was supposed to be giving him.
Yeah, his original plan was go turn yourself into the cops, and he gave him some LSD instead of, he told him it was like lithium or something, and then it like backfired.
So I don't know if he was like twisting these screws in the same way with this Narcissi guy too. And yeah, he was another patient. Like I said, everything is so muddled, and it's going to take you a few watches just to kind of connect the dots for the movie, because it doesn't do any of the dot connecting. But anyway, continue. So they get kicked out. Doug Bradley kicks him out. Like, you can't be here anymore. You've brought plague on us, whatever. Like, they're going to come for us and kill us. And I think at this point, we've already had Rachel show Laurie like the history. Like, this is why this is dangerous. And she is like some sort of psychic, and she touches her and she sees the past. And basically the human race, like the monsters, they were actually peaceful people. And it was the human race that fucking eradicated them, and they were all that was left. And they ran them out of their home, and this was their most current home. They got, exiled to. But basically, she tells them that. But Doug Bradley says, look what you've done to us. You've brought these people. They know where we're at. You guys got to go. So Craig Schaefer and Laurie, they leave. They go to stay at a hotel, or a shitty motel rather.
Notice he's perfectly fine leaving during the day, Craig Schaefer.
Yeah, and because with the old man at the gas station, he's like, how do you kill him? And he's like, just different. Yeah, there was no answer. The old man's like, different for different ones. Some bullets, some of them can be stabbed, some of them can't. But he was saying that each one of them has different weaknesses. True, but they kind of imply other places in the movie that sunlight hurts them all. Or maybe I'm just assuming that because they're Nightbreed. Like, I don't fucking know. Like I said, none of this makes a lick of fucking sense.
We do find out towards the end that Craig Schaefer is like his monster form is referred to as Cabal, which is the book's written, like that's the title of it. So maybe he's just the big king he has extra powers maybe.
Yeah, like I said, we're just connecting the dots for the movie at this point. We're just making what if scenarios,
So once they like tell him to fuck off, so the girlfriend and the main character, Craig Schaefer, they go and basically hang out at a hotel. And I wrote down, so they go to the hotel, and did you notice Cronenberg seemed to completely head them off at the hotel just by absolute luck? Like, how did he know they were going there?
Yeah, I know. So, and he's at the hotel. He heads them off. He kills the people in the hotel.
Yeah, I put they didn't establish how he knew, but he shows up first, kills the girl behind the desk, then kills everyone in the hotel, calls the cops and reports that fucking Craig Schaefer's there so that the cops will come and, think he killed him.
Yeah.
And
take him
to the police station.
Craig Schaefer, when they're there, he uncontrollably starts tasting the blood of the victims, right? Like showing a little bit of that monster feeling he has, and he starts licking the blood or whatever, which looks bad when the cops show up because it looks like he did it, right? He's got blood all over his mouth and shit. And they even, when they got him in jail, I think they're calling him cannibal fuck, and hitting him and shit. Yeah, everything's too perfect, right?
The cops tell the press, like, oh, we found, human remains in his body. And it's like, they didn't know he was dead up until that point. Like, they obviously didn't do an autopsy. How'd they know he had human? Were they going through his shit?
Yeah.
That was really weird.
Yeah. And I didn't even notice that. Okay, so he's in lockup. I don't even remember where Laurie went at this point because I know he's locked up. Where's Laurie? I don't even fucking remember. But he's locked up. And I don't think this is in the director's cut. Do we get the scene of him and the priest next to each other in cells talking together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, I didn't have time to rewatch the director's cut, but I remember it for the most part. But I don't think they were talking next to each other, were they, in the director's cut? Like when they're, in the cells adjacent?
Yeah, they're there.
Okay. Well, I think a lot of this movie in the director's cut, there's a lot of stuff that's extended or something. Like they have
mostly the setup, like the character development. Like I remember there's a scene where he has like a weird vision of him and his girlfriend having sex. Like it wasn't stuff like you really miss, but there wasn't any of the scenes that I realized like, oh, this is new, and I thought like, yeah, that had to be cut. It was just like
it's the same, and it's the same movie. I had read that Clive Barker and whatnot was like promising a completely different movie, and I'm like, it's kind of the same. I mean, the end game's the same. It's nothing really changes. I mean, but anyway, so they're in prison, they're in the jail. We're introduced to this new badass fucking Irish type of cop captain with a mustache. This fucking Dennis Franz type of asshole. And for some reason, he's got heavy stakes in finding this place too. It seems like he's got a real hard on for this guy. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, Deckard goes back and basically tells him like, "Oh yeah, fucking."
They're all letting this Deckard guy run the show. Why is everybody listening to this motherfucker? You know what I mean? He's like getting into everybody's fucking ear, and they're just going along with this fucking guy.
They're basically letting him pull the strings. Yeah, he tells him like, "Oh yeah," he's the one that ends up telling him like, oh yeah, there's a whole underground group of people that are hanging out at the.
Well, that sounds crazy, but we're not going to question you, old man. Let's all go. Let's take the entire fucking police force to this fucking cemetery full of ghoulies. It's so fucking dumb.
He tells them that, and they're just like, oh yeah, well let's go fucking blow it up then. It's like, why would you think to do that? And maybe it's supposed to be some kind of satire on like how people react to finding shit out like that. Like, oh, they always kill, their first idea is to go blow it up. But I thought like, wouldn't that be weird to like blow up a
cemetery full of bodies?
Yeah, there's people that like.
Is that not desecration? That's desecration of corpses. That's federal crimes, man.
They all paid for that plot, and I'm sure their family comes and visits them every once in a while. They didn't seem to care.
Yeah, and they're like, there could be people visiting at the moment when they seize it. It's like maybe there's people there just like, but I'm saying like desecration of dead bodies and corpses is a bad crime. Like what the fuck, man? You can't just. None of it makes sense. And like you said, you're trying to justify it and make up all this shit. That's us connecting dots again. I think it's just self-serving script that just kind of gets that it plods along. It's just point A to get to point B to point C, whatever. But anyway, so they all go. Well, not before Narcissi, Skin Man. What do we call him? Skin Face. Skin Face comes with a Mist Woman, right? And they break him out of jail. Mist Woman comes through the bars and she's like butt ass naked and like this pervert guard's like, and that's all it takes is titties. And
she kisses him and then like he fucking dies, baby. And it's kind of funny to watch now because you know the way they got that effect is they just had him smoke a cigarette and he blew the smoke out and played dead.
And so they rescue him, and for some fucking reason, so he escapes, and they start putting together this mob, right? The cops like, okay, we're all going to the graveyard then, because that's where they're going, I guess. We're going to listen to this old fucking shoot up piece of bubblegum man, and we're going to go to the graveyard and fight ghosts. And the guy with the mustache is just all in on it. And he gets everybody together, and for some reason, he even pulls the drunk priest out of prison. Like, we need a man of the clergy for some reason. Why'd they take him? Why?
It was convenient to know he was a priest because they let him keep his clothes on in the jail cell. Like, it looks like they're in like a mental hospital almost, the cells, some of them. Very Chad.
But why did they take him? They don't make it makes no sense. Like, because they're going to a graveyard.
Yeah, apparently they mentioned like, oh, you took me because you needed a man of the cloth or something like that. Which there's no reason they would know they needed. And he's the one that gives like, oh, actually, yeah, Midian. That's a part of the like there's like a biblical story that mentions Midian and like there was a battle there. So I guess that's where Clive Barker got the idea. It must have been.
I give him the benefit of the doubt that the whole priest and all the religious undertones make more sense in the story. I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt because it's a fucking wreck here. But for some reason, they take him out.
Apparently, they made him add that one shot that shows like the battle, like where the weird blasphemous looking. You ever see that video game Blasphemous? He's got like the same like weird, like tall like hood on. And like it shows like the battle going. I remember seeing that, and I was like, I would rather watch this movie if this was Nightbreed. I would like, this would be more interesting. It like showed like the monsters fighting and stuff, and then like it's basically setting it up that like every couple generations they have to fight again, and like that's where this is gonna end up leading at some point. So
Aaron Boone and Lori head back to Midian to tell everybody, like, look, we got to fucking, you got Beta. He's a Beta cuck, right? What's his face? Doug Bradley. Well, we got to go. And, he's there trying to rally people like, no, we got to stand and fight. They're coming. We got to stand up for ourselves. We got to fight. All the while, like I said, the cops and the fucking priest and the fucking Slender Man, they're all getting their merry men together to come and just fucking repeat history and take over for some reason. So they show up and they just start the slaughter. The humans are getting the better of it. The priest, he sees that they're fucking killing women and children. Like some of the monsters are women and children. And now we like, he objects to it. And dude, what an asshole cop. This cop's like, yeah, he's like you said, he's really gun happy. He's all cool with just blowing shit up and I don't know, but they're all a bunch of rednecks and they make their way, I think, into the graveyard. Stop me if I'm missing anything crucial, but in essential, they raid them. They raid them and they're getting their ass handed to them. That's, the priest, like I said, he objects and whatever. And then they get all the way to Doug Bradley and there's that plan of, okay, conveniently, they have this breed of monsters or Nightbreed that are just insane, so they keep them locked up. It's their trump card. Like, oh god, we're getting our ass handed to you. Let's go release them. And he convinces Doug Bradley to do it. Doug Bradley agrees, and he goes to do it. He gets a bullet to the head before he can open the door. Craig Schaefer opens the door and lets out these fucking hellhounds that they just conveniently have in case of emergency. I guess I don't fucking know. Doesn't sound like a tribe of equality because aren't they all Nightbreed? Like, why these ones are insane, so you just keep them locked up.
This is kind of like where we see some of like, the monster fun, some of the monster goodness, if you will, like the lady that's like naked and she's got like porcupine quills and she like shoots them at people.
And she's like the siren, right? She has like those pheromones or whatever, right? That's what I'm guessing it was because she's like a porcupine. She has quills. But like they were like in love with her, right? And that what it was implying, like they were like attracted to her.
Like she was like calling them over, and they were like, "What's going on?" I don't know if they were attracted to her or not. They just seemed like, "What the fuck is that?" And they were just walking towards it.
Well, she was kind of giving like "fuck me" eyes to him, like "come hither" looks, right? I got the impression like she was putting off some pheromones, but who knows?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's the gist of it. Like it's a whole scene of them kicking ass and like in a battle and fucking just killing people. But they're putting up a fight, right? Because Boone kind of gets everybody rallied together, and you have Bulk. He's all into it, like, all right, here's my friends, and he's got like these dicks that come out of his fucking belly or something. I don't know. So they're putting up a fight, and they're fighting back, but they're losing the battle until they bring out these monsters. And once the monsters get unleashed, then it turns the tide, and they're just like ripping ass, and they look shitty. They look like this crappy CGI. I don't know what the fuck they're made out of, but it looks terrible. Like when they're flying through the air and stuff.
Probably like early stop motion, maybe early CGI, maybe.
It looks really terrible. But I mean, in a nutshell, that's basically it. And I know they start blowing the place up, right? They blow the place up, and God, what happens? Now I'm getting them mixed up between the directors and the theatrical cut.
The director's cut ending is much different.
They're different. So the theatrical cut, Narcisse lives. And what happens to the priest? How does he get fucked up? Something with Baphomet. Doesn't the cop fucking like shoot him or something?
He sees Baphomet, and he's walking towards him. He tries to like read from his book, but like he grabs some like holy water or something, and he throws it at him, and it fucks his face up. And then like basically a spoiler alert if you want to watch the movie. Basically, the humans, they lose, but they survive. Or not human, the Nightbreed lose, but they survive. And in the director's cut, he ends up taking them to a new place to hide out. It's like a abandoned farm.
Well, so that happens. Okay, so in this one, we're kind of getting into the differences, the main differences. So either way, the priest kind of gets fucked over. But this is what's also confusing, because wasn't he like reading from the book and he was pledging allegiance to Baphomet? But it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense though, because I thought that's what he was doing. But at the end, when it's all rubble,
no, I think he was trying to like stop it, and then like that's why he threw something in his face. And then like at the end of the theatrical cut, I kind of preferred the ending of the theatrical cut a little bit more.
Me too.
But
yeah, me too.
Not the like. I thought most of because the director's cut ending kind of lasts a little longer. Like him and the girlfriend, they go up on the
killing
mountain.
herself and all that shit.
Yeah, it's like she kills herself knowing that he can bring her back to life. And then they take basically the Nightbreed to a new place to hide out until it's basically setting up like this is going to be like another like a sequel could come, and that's going to be where the battle happens.
It's supposed to be I guess it's supposed to be a trilogy. But basically in the theatrical cut, they still get away. And they imply that, he still says his goodbyes and shit like that. And he says goodbye. In this one, Narcisse, Skin Man, is still there. He's still there. In the director's cut, he actually gets killed by Decker during the battle. Yeah. But in the theatrical version, he survives. Were they not at a barn in the theatrical version too? Is that not where they were at? Or were they just like in a big plot of land or something?
They might have been in a barn.
I think they were at the barn regardless. So they're at the barn. And he's saying his goodbyes, like he's going to go like look for a new place and I guess come back. And that's it. And then it kind of cuts back to the priest who's in the rubble of Midian. And he's taking the heart, I guess. Is that the heart of Baphomet or right? The heart of Baphomet?
Yeah, it's
the heart of Baphomet. And he's got, fucking Slender Man is like crucified, impaled on that fucking thing. And he puts the fucking heart inside of him and he comes back alive. But my question I could ask for everybody in this movie, what is the priest's motive here? I don't understand. Like, what is his motive? What's the motive for this?
Just chaos, our boy's saying. Very Chad. He's one of those guys. He's a very Joker. He's very Joker.
But the priest, I mean, I can understand that he's mad at the cop, but the cop's dead. Like, what? And why is he bringing back a serial killer?
And the director's cut, he basically he's been transformed by Baphomet, and then like he's back at the rubble of the cemetery, and then he runs into the cop who's still alive, and like basically
the cop in the director's cut, the priest, he wants revenge. He wants revenge against Baphomet for some reason, and everybody that he feels fucked over by. He wants revenge against it, and then the cop is still there, who's now alive in this version, and he's kind of on board. He wants the same thing. He's like, yeah, I want him, but he doesn't, he rejects him basically and fucking kills him.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, cunt, look what you did.
I kind of liked the image of the theatrical ending a little better. Like, just the weird corpse and shit.
Like, and he comes alive. It's kind of tropey. But yeah, I came to find out. So in the director's cut, this part of the director's cut I like better. The ending is a little bit more fleshed out. Like, yeah, it makes sense. He's going to go off and he's saying his goodbyes, but now Narcisse's dead, right? I mean, because in that version, he got killed by Slender Man during the battle. But he's saying goodbye. He's going to go look. But it makes sense because the girlfriend's like, wait a second. You're now immortal. You're never going to grow old, sort of thing. What do I get out of all this? And she kills herself knowing he can bring her back. To me, that makes more sense. That's more fitting.
I did like, basically it shows them both like standing there in silhouette, like the sun's going down, and then it cuts to like a picture of the hieroglyphics, and you see that like that same image is there. Like this was all part of the prophecy.
Oh, like she was included in the prophecy in that one. Yeah, that all works for me. I think they should have kept that in all versions. But yeah, I like the overall ending of the heart inside fucking Cronenberg and shit like that. It's kind of a nice ending. But I didn't know this, but apparently, is that ending still in the director's cut, but it's an after credit scene?
There is an after credit scene I saw. I didn't.
Is it the same?
See it. I
so
didn't see it.
I never saw that whenever I watched the director's cut, because who fucking stayed for the after the credits before a Marvel movie? I mean, nobody. But anyway. I read online that basically that scene was the after credit scene of the director's cut. Like they somehow put it back in, which I don't know. I'd have to watch the director's cut again to see if it makes sense sequence wise with what they changed, right? With the cop being there and the priest killing him. I mean, I guess the priest never left, right? So
I heard there is an after credit scene, but it's just another scene that was cut out of the theatrical. That's what I heard. Maybe
I read that it was the whole resurrection thing that we got in the theatrical.
Okay.
I don't know, but to me that doesn't count. I think it's the ending is the ending, right? I don't think that I don't always like after credit scenes. They're kind of weird. Like, how do you feel about that? Does that count as the movie, or is that like a cake and eat it too thing? Like, well, we want the more artsy and fitting ending just in case it doesn't have a sequel, right? We don't want to gamble, so we're going to end the movie. But, we also want a sequel, so we're going to put this scene that kind of segs for a potential sequel after the credits.
They were originally called like PS, like when you're writing a letter and you say, oh, PS, like it's just one little
post signature.
Yeah, one little last thing to add. It wasn't supposed to be like a crucial part, but like, yeah, they've been doing it for a while. It's just, yeah, most people leave during the credits, so if they want you to see the scene, they usually put it before the credits.
Well, yeah, post signature. So anyway, one thing we did miss. I mean, that's the movie. One thing we did miss though was when the whole place was going to shit. Craig Schaefer was with Baphomet, and Baphomet told him, "Hey, well, this is Baphomet's a black guy, by the way, apparently." But anyway, Baphomet told him, you brought destruction to us, but this was part of the prophecy. It's up to you to lead everybody to a new home, and you are now Cabal. Which, okay, is it supposed to be a double entendre? Is it supposed to be like a double meaning? Because I always assumed, okay, well, they call it Cabal because they essentially are a cabal. A cabal is a secretive group, right? Of people. I mean, putting it simply, but they are, that's what they are. So I always thought, so why is his name Cabal? Makes no sense. Like, why? Like, you are now Cabal. Like, huh?
He is the king. He's the king.
But why? Where does the name Cabal come from?
I don't know.
I'd be like, I'd ask Baphomet, like, why do I got to change my name?
Part of the prophecy. See, if we ever got a sequel, we would have known.
And maybe that's part of it too. Like, if he was trying to do a George Lucas and he's like, hey, I'm going to write 3 movies together. And, basically you need all the pieces of the puzzle to get the grand picture. That fucks shit up, man. If you don't get those sequels, you have what you have here today, a movie that is a fucking mess. And I honestly, I'd have to watch the director's cut tonight so I could say back to back which one I think is better. But in my opinion, it was not any better. I watched this one and I'm like, they're both like 5 out of 10s. I don't know. They're just, and I don't even know why I'm giving them 5 out of 10s. Probably because I have a soft spot for Clive Barker and I want to like it. I like the aesthetics. I like the time period.
I did. I really want to like it. Yeah.
But I can't. I think there's a good story here. I just don't think they're telling it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like the concept of a secret underground cabal of this race of people or monsters, whatever. Like, I think if somebody elevator pitched you this idea and you were like a film producer, your dick would get hard because it's like, oh, the possibilities. But they did not. execute those possibilities. I just don't think it's the right story at all, or they didn't tell it right at all. So I don't know what it is. I think even I'm being kind giving it a 5 out of 10, but it's a 5 out of 10. I can watch it. Maybe I'm going to lean a little bit towards the theatrical cut just because it is 20 minutes less. And, for me, they're the same movie, but one of them I got to sit through 20 minutes longer. So I don't know if that's a good thing. I imagine like this movie 20 minutes longer. God forbid I ever have to watch the Cabal cut, which is like 2 hours, 40 minutes.
What if it's got all the shit we're complaining about?
Well, yeah, if it's got all the good stuff, then I wouldn't mind watching it. But
see, I don't mind when a movie doesn't make sense because like a big staple of the Italian horror movies was like, oh yeah, let's make it fucking purposefully not make sense. It's not about the plot. It's just about like the images you're seeing. Like it's almost like it's fun to kind of watch it and pretend like you're watching somebody else's dream happen in front of you. But like, yeah, I overall I'm in the middle with the movie too. I gave it a 5 out of 10.
And since I feel that same way about the director's cut and this cut, I guess just by default, I'm going to give me the shorter one. You know what I mean? Like, why would I want to watch 2 hours of a 5 out of 10, right?
I remember it might have been the mood I was in when I watched the first one, but I remember, and it might be because like I'm watching it again and like the stuff that didn't make sense the first time, I can kind of like, oh, but I did remember, I thought like, oh, the director's cut, was more of an interesting, I don't know if it flowed. I don't know if it flowed better or what, or if it was just because like now I can rewatch it and kind of look for things I was confused about the last time. But I remember thinking like, oh yeah, the director's cut, it's pretty, it goes well. Like, there's none of the scenes I saw. It was just like, well, that was fucking terrible. Cut that out. It was all just kind of backstory building. And you could say it was inconsequential, but like none of it really felt like it was like fucking just boring me or anything.
Well, I'll say this. I think I know exactly why. Well, when I first saw this movie, finally, I was disappointed in it because years and years as a child, like you, Zach, I saw this cover and I was just making up what the movie had to have been about in my head, right? I'm like, oh, I got to see this movie. It just by the creatures on the front, it looked like Hellraiser, like it looked very Clive Barker-y. Even the font looked Clive. Everything about it looked Clive. So I loved Hellraiser, and I liked Hellraiser 2, and I loved Hellraiser 3. I was watching all those movies way back in the day. And I'm like, I guess I just built up in my head what this movie was going to be like. And when I finally saw it, I think I was disappointed in this whole angle of, oh, humanity's the real monster. I didn't want to see that in this movie. I wanted the monsters to be the monsters, Like... So to me, it's not really a horror movie. Does it feel like a horror movie to you?
He talked about how it's more of like a fantasy with horror elements in it.
Yeah, it's not. So I'm not saying that ultimately that's bad. I think there's a great story to tell with the whole, okay, humans are the monsters, blah, 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 all this Ferngully bullshit. That's fine, but it just disappointed me in the moment when I saw it because that's not what I built up in my head for so many years. And I'm like, oh, and then it didn't help that the movie didn't make a lick of fucking sense either. But anyway, Hellraiser, it is not, unfortunately. But I don't know.
See, I always wanted to like this movie. I always wanted to like Rawhead Rex, and that's another movie like I just thought, yeah, it didn't do what Hellraiser did.
I almost compared this to, this is like a fantasy horror version of Blade Runner for me. But you know what? I have to say I like Blade Runner better than this movie just because I appreciate what Blade Runner did and I appreciate what Blade Runner inspired. And this movie just kind of died. Like this, what did this movie inspire?
I'm looking forward to seeing what our boy does with that fucking HBOMAX TV series he's got coming.
Which one? Hellraiser?
Hellraiser, yeah.
So it's not HBO Max anymore. It's fucking Hulu. That's lame as shit for some. I don't know why Hulu is the same. Like I know Hulu was owned by the big networks. It's owned by AB. Now it was owned by, it was a multi-agreement thing. It was owned equally by NBC, CBS, Fox, and ABC. And now that Disney, which is ABC, which Disney bought Fox. Now, between ABC and Fox, under the Disney umbrella, they now own the chief stake in Hulu. So, I don't know. I'm not saying it can't be just as good, but like it always worries me when there's like network people in charge of it. HBO seems to be very liberal with whatever they put out, so maybe that won't mean anything. But yeah, I think it's weird. I think it should be an HBO Max show, but hopefully it's good. I know the Evil Dead movie's now an HBO Max exclusive, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, which that's fine. I'm not excited about it, but once again, it's kind of like The Conjuring. Well, if it's going to be on HBO Max on demand, right? I'll watch it. That'll easily make me watch it. If I don't have to go and pay for it, I'll watch it that fucking midnight when it comes available. It'll be like a Mortal Kombat thing. Hopefully it's good. I just don't want to have any expectations. So if it happens to be pretty decent, I'll be pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can make an Evil Dead movie that serves as a reboot and complements the original franchise and be in the same universe, and it also be modern and pay homage. I think they can do it. I just don't think that last movie was really quite it. So I'll have an open mind. But anyway, that's it, man. We did Nightbreed, everybody.
Oh yeah,
it was a thing.
Nightbreed.
David Cronenberg was in it for some reason.
Nobody bred in the movie though. That's what's sad.
Yeah, it's fucked up. There was no fucking freaky monster sex in it.
I want to see that chick fuck a guy with her quills.
You know what? I have the Scream Factory Blu-ray, and I've never watched. There's a featurette making of Nightbreed, and I saw it online referenced a lot, like a lot of the interviews and like Clive Barker. So I think I want to watch it. I'm kind of in the mood for it, but maybe that'll help me understand a little bit. But I should have watched it. We actually should have watched it for this too. Maybe that would have helped. Maybe that would have answered some of our questions of like why, because maybe they talk about it. I don't know, in the featurette. Who fucking knows? But anyway, hopefully you guys liked it. Once again, if you guys stick around, what?
We pretty much, I threw in my bullet points section while we were going through the plot, but I had one left over, and I put, I hate the way we're introduced to the monsters in this movie with the scrolling text. And I put, what were they thinking with that? Like, we need to, like, we have a rocky-ass scrolling text that says Nightbreed, and we see little highlight clips of all the monsters just, like, from other parts, like, parts we're going to see later in the movie. And why'd they do it like that? That's very weird. Very odd choice.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole movie's an odd choice. But anyway, was that your only bullet point left?
Yeah.
It's still a disappointment, folks. So I've watched 2 versions of this movie. In a perfect world, if the Cabal cut was accessible, I mean, I guess we would have been up to the task to maybe watch that one too, but who knows? Maybe that'll be so far in the future where we can do a separate cinema enema for just the Cabal cut. I'd do that. Let enough time pass, and we'll see if maybe that makes things any better. I can't imagine a movie that long could be better, though.
Hopefully they update the soundtrack and then fucking we get some like Kid Rock, Cabal with a ball to bang, diggy.
Speaking of the soundtrack, which is kind of weird, Danny Elfman isn't very Clive Barker, but it worked. I liked the music. I
forgot. I saw his credit and I completely forgot throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's totally Danny Elfman, which is interesting. And it works, but I don't know. It just, maybe it wasn't Clive Barker-y enough. I don't know. But anyway, guys, like I said, if you guys stuck around to the end of this episode, you guys are the real MVPs, obviously. Thank you so much for the support. Once again, if you haven't liked the video and you're on YouTube, please do so. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the channel. Share us with anybody and everybody you know that might like what we do. And also, if you like being on the go and listening to your podcast, we're on every podcast free feed service. You know, we're on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. Subscribe and leave something nice over there, a nice rating, if you will, over there. It helps us out a lot. That's how I listen to my podcasts. But and also, if you guys wanted to support us in any additional ways, we do have a Patreon. You get early access to all of our content, bonus content. Zach and I are currently we're making our way through the entire series of Ash vs. Evil Dead commentaries exclusive to that. Mac and Zach Save the World do exclusive episodes just for the Patreon. I think you guys just did one, right? Or you are going to do one?
We did Revenge of the Nerds. We did it before. We were doing the fucking main course episode, the Space Jam. And hopefully, Mac, we can do that tomorrow or whenever you can do it.
Yeah. So, okay. So like he said, the next Mac and Zach that's just available for everybody is going to be Space Jam. Hopefully, we're going to be doing that tomorrow as this recording. But the Patreon exclusive Mac and Zach Save the World episode is Revenge of the Nerds. Why do they call you a booger? I don't know. It's a classic movie. They showed pussy in that movie.
Fucking
Bush.
Exactly. Very Chad.
Crazy. Anyway.
And not the fucking band Bush.
No, that fucking shitty band. Swallow. He swallows. But no, Riverman's got pickup videos he throws up on there, behind the scenes stuff. We're always wanting feedback for anything you guys want to see. And if it's something we can do, we want to be able to make the Patreon even more valuable. But literally $2 gets you access to all that. And it helps us out a long way and support the channel. And if you guys want to go even more beyond that, we have a Teespring where you guys can buy some dank ass duds, as Zach would say, I think. And they always kick us back a healthy profit, and you can get something tangible and look sexy in the process. We've got shirts up there for Cinema Enema, the BTM commentary show, Mac and Zach Save the World.
You know what else?
Real
quick, you know what else you get to do if you are a Patreon and you are in the chat? Cool shit like this. I get to pick the next movie, and I'm going to let Plemke, I'm going to give him 2 options. I'm thinking Being John Malkovich from 99 or The Truman Show from 98. Fucking let me know which one you'd rather me. The Truman Show. Hell yeah. Fucking we'll
all right.
The Truman Show next, baby.
Yeah, dude, that was, see, I didn't even know that was going to happen. So yeah, so we have a Discord for anybody and everybody that we're in there. We shoot the shit. We talk about movies. We share news bits and rib each other. Not rim each other, just rib each other. And but we also have a private Discord that's just for Patrons, and you get to basically be in the room while we're recording our podcast as we are right now live. And then, of course, it goes up for everybody else after the fact and post. And Plemke, one of our Patrons, we love you to death. Zach just gave him the choice to pick the next Cinema Enema, which it looks like it's going to be Truman Show, which I have seen before, but I watched it when it first came out, and I don't remember that much about it. So it's a rewatch. I've still never seen Being John Malkovich, so I'm sure Zach will do that down the line.
Truman Show is a forgotten fucking. It's not really anymore. People love it now, but fucking it did. It like people just kind of didn't mention it years after it came out. Very unchad.
And like I said, if that wasn't enough, like Zach and I started the show off by saying we did 2 episodes of Cinema Enema back to back because we did 2 straight months of commentaries that were completely chosen by the patrons. So. And that stuff was a lot of fun. We'll definitely do that again soon. But anyway, lots of love. Thank you for all the support. Whatever it is you guys do, we appreciate it. And that's it. We'll see you guys next time. Hopefully, if you guys are subscribed, you'll see us with the Mac and Zach Save the World doing Space Jam real soon. But that's all we got. Bye-bye, puppets.